Good evening, everyone. I'm Chris, and I'm joined once again with JXEDITOR to discuss more Skeleton Crew, more Star Wars, more Disney Star Wars, Episode 3. And honestly, I don't have many notes on this one. In fact, I think the longest part of this whole discussion is going to be me reading the full title out for this episode, which was Episode 3, Very Interesting as an Astrogration Problem. So there you go. Up to Episode 3 on this thing.
Very interesting as an astrogation problem.
Yeah, the
That is
titles
what this was.
they're quite lengthy titles so far. Episode 1, this could be a real adventure. The episode 2 was way out past the barrier. Yeah, now we're up to this one. I mean, it's where do we even start with this one? My God, I mean, introduce yourself first before we jump into this thing because I don't have a whole
Hello,
lot to say on this episode,
I'm
really.
JXEDITOR. I sold a wear tiger skin when I shouldn't have, but that's neither here nor there. Uh, I do fan edits on YouTube. Things are things are going well. I got an edit of the Clone Wars coming out, hopefully around Christmas, where it's I'm trying to make a single movie that fits rather snugly between 2 and 3.
And we will be watching said film next week, I believe, at some point. So that's not going to be an official release, but yeah, because I get VIP access, I get to watch it early, I guess. So I'm looking forward to that actually, because we've discussed an idea of a project like that for a long time, and I think there is place for a project like that, definitely.
This one does not work for the episode 2 at it being episode 2 because it relies too
Oh,
heavily on what is now episode 1.
oh, okay.
Because
That sounds.
The Qui-Gon ghost stuff is in there, so you can't really say you can drop episode 1 and watch this as episode 3.
Mhm. Jumping into Skeleton Crew, I think well, we encourage people to go and watch our review of episode 1 and 2 if you haven't done so already, but just sort of truncate our opinions from the 2 episode premiere last week. Where are you kind of at with this series before going into episode 3 this week?
Starting to warm to it. You know, yesterday when I thought it was yesterday, I was kind of not looking forward to it. I did not wake up on the right side of the bed. I was feeling a lot better this morning, and I went into it with a probably slightly better mindset than I would have
Mhm.
if it came out when I thought it would. Um, I'm definitely liking it more by the end of this episode.
Yes, yeah. I think there's a lot of there's a lot of intrigue as to where the plot can go. I still have a horrible feeling that Disney are going to be like, well, we can't let you just make a Goonies in space its own thing, Skeleton Crew. We've got to tie it into the greater world of either the sequel trilogy or the Mandoverse or something. And I really hope it is just kind of self-contained and is very much its own thing. But I fear that it won't be by the end of this.
Speaking of tying it into the sequel trilogy, I thought for a second the superb owl was going to be Maz.
Very Moz-like character, isn't it? In terms of like the
Yeah,
placeholder a little
and
bit.
then yeah, basically I bounced from like, okay, it's probably not going to be Maz because Maz doesn't live on a moon like this. So, and then I
Mhm.
thought maybe it's going to be the Trandoshan lady from the Bad Batch who's just as likely to stab you in the back.
Yeah, yeah.
But
You
no, it was
expect
just
them
a
to
new
walk.
character who's an owl.
She just turns around and goes like, "Crimson Jack, hey Kim," and then it's just the same scene from Force Awakens.
Hi,
Her name,
Annie.
her name is Kim, isn't it? He just said like, "Oh yeah, we need to go and see Kim," and I'm thinking like, "Oh, a K-I-M," and oh no, it's spelt Star Warsy, but it's pronounced Kim.
No. It's K-I-apostrophe-I-M, I think.
No, it's K-H apostrophe Y double M.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah,
That's
no,
a
that'll
Star
do it.
Warsy name right there, if ever I saw one. Yeah, so my notes are kind of limited on this one. A lot of it is just kind of moving the plot along. I think sort of my opinions going into this one. I think I was more negative on this one last week, but as I've kind of mulled it over, my problems that I had with episode 1 still stay. I thought it was kind of like mired in nostalgia, especially in that first opening couple of acts of the episode. And really, sort of like my problems do stem over into this episode too. In the actual core cast of the kids, I'm just not getting their personalities. they're not like when I watch the Goonies, like I like all of their personalities and I think they complement each other well when they're they're arguing or talking over one another. In this one, they're all kind of flat for me at the moment, and I'm hoping now that Jude Law's in the mix, we'll see more of those personalities coming through. We're seeing a little bit more of that mistrust come through with the two the two girls, one who immediately calls him out and says that something feels off, and then you've got the one who's like she's not a cyborg, but she has like the Cyclops glasses from X-Men.
She's basically the Star Wars equivalent of a cyborg, like Lobot.
Yes, yeah. So there's a little bit of intrigue there. So we'll see how it goes. And I guess all the kids do have different takes on Jude Law's character. You've got some that are hailing him as a Jedi, as a hero. It's the two lad characters, and then you've got some who distrust him, and there's a little bit of intrigue there. So we opened this episode with the parents discussing the missing kids, and the droid basically comes in and says like, "Yeah, they're past the zone, they're past the barrier, they're out of our jurisdiction now. We can't do anything about it." And that's kind of it. I guess it sets the stage. It shows that the parents actually are there. Sometimes in a lot of these Amblin kind of style films, the parents just kind of disappear out of nowhere, and you wonder like, are they concerned for their missing children? Yeah, exactly. So it does kind of like whole. Yeah.
Well, here's the thing about that. Looking back at that, that's just before what it was like before cell phones, isn't it? Like, it's 10 p.m. Do you know where your child is right now?
Yeah. There's the kind of like,
that was like right before my time.
Where like you don't lock your doors at night kind of thing, that type of area, right? The camera does hang on the dad at the very end, so he's going to lead some kind of he's going to break himself past the barrier, right, and find a spaceship and go looking for them or something, maybe. Or do you think he's do you think he's just going to stay in At-Aten at this point? AT-AT in.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know if he's going to stay at AT-10. I honestly, there's not many tropes with the parents you can really pull out. But I guess the most recent thing sort of like this I saw was Doctor Sleep, where at least you get the main character and her parent as like part of the action. So or the main character, you get a little girl and her dad is like part of the action. So I would say maybe he's going to try to break the what we find out to be a nebula.
Yes, yeah. There's a lot of mystery surrounding this planet actually, which is
I thought it was a shield.
Yeah, it's like a mystical bound. Yeah, it's sort of protected itself, isn't it? I think there's a series of we find this out later towards the very end. It's protected itself with a barrier. Yeah, this legendary planet, and there's a bunch from stemming back to the Old Republic. I think she mentions or something like that. So it's one of a collection.
Yeah, it's like one of the
number.
One of the trophy worlds. Yeah,
one of 9.
9. Were there 9? I thought there were 7 for some reason.
I can't remember. There was like one in the center, and there was a whole ring of them, wasn't there, around it? Yeah. Then we could.
They were all. Well, no, they seem to be some. Like they seem to have been like some legends from the Old Republic about them that are like they were clearly a part of the Old Republic that just fell into obscurity, maybe.
But they have like illustrations of these planets, and they relatively know where they are.
It's kind of this episode confirmed everything. Oh,
hello. Yes, we're here. We're live.
This episode basically confirmed everything I was thinking about AT-10.
Yes. Yeah. But still a lot of mystery around it, which I want to know. It's this treasure planet, and they are kind of very that's the word, sort of like secluded from everything else, from galactic politics, and they're kind of lost out of time a little bit and aren't aware of everything that's happened. So jumping back to the beginning of the episode, we cut to the brig where they're breaking out of jail. We get those tentacle arm things behind the bars from Jabba's palace from ROTJ. We get a few of them in there because we're in a prison cell. Yeah, boom, and like backhands it. And Jude Law uses a similar force technique to Obi-Wan from A New Hope, where he uses the force to sort of like create a sound, like a distraction, like a throwing rock or something.
Yeah, that's in. I always
It's when
assumed
he's on
that
the
he just
tractor
like
beam. It's when he's on the tractor beam, I think, in A New Hope, isn't he? And there's two guards there, and it's like a clatter,
yeah,
a
no, he and
clang
he
down
goes
the
back like,
corridor. Yeah, it's like, what was that
and then
noise?
he fucks off.
Yeah.
Yeah, I in you know that book I told you about by Alan Dean Foster, the the the
Yes.
the
Yeah.
the the first ever Star Wars novelization.
Splinter of the Mind's Eye, right?
No, 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 no. That's the sequel. I mean the
Oh.
novelization of Star
Oh,
Wars
of A New
of
Hope.
the
Sorry.
of
Yes.
from 1976 that came out
Yeah.
before the premiere.
The Journal of the Wills. It
That
says at the
scene is
beginning of it,
so
right?
much cooler.
Well,
What?
what happens in it? What happens in it?
He's using the Force to manipulate the shadows around him to make himself basically invisible.
Oh, that's pretty cool. Very hard to shoot on film, I would imagine, especially for that time, maybe. But
Exactly. Yeah. So he just kind of walks around blatantly instead.
yeah, he's just kind of awkwardly shimmying around the tractor beam. HLB Coma says, "Is it woke yet? Love the 80s stream vibes." I mean, I love my my 80s stuff. No, I don't think it is at the moment. I'd say this is the second
I
best
mean,
series
the girl's a
behind.
captain.
Girls are captain. They're kind of bossing them around a little bit, and I feel like I've been hurt by Disney Star Wars before, so I've kind of got my guard up. I've got my hackles up. Maybe she is just like a tomboyish character, but we'll see. There's quite a few episodes left of the series, so we'll see where it goes. I don't think it's like massively overtly woke or anything like that. It seems like it's telling a pretty straight narrative for narrative's sake at the moment. But we will see. We'll see by the end of it. But I think it's kind of okay at the moment. It gets a pass at the moment. I don't think it's particularly an enthralling series so far, and I still stand by that. Even with this episode, feels like it needs a little bit more life to it, a little bit more charm. But maybe it'll get there. Who knows?
Maybe.
So we actually get a reason. We were both expecting a reason as to why, if Jude Law has the Force and can conveniently reach the key at the end of the last episode, why is he still in a jail cell when we see him in the previous episode? Well, he does give us a reason. And he says that the reason that he stayed in his jail cell, despite the fact that he can use the Force to retrieve the key, is that there wasn't a ship nearby. He's like, what's the point of breaking out of jail if I don't have a ship at my disposal to escape on? You're in a spaceport, my dude. Like hundreds of, if not thousands of ships dock here every single day. Yeah, he's clearly lying. And I thought, if that's the reason, I'm going to like burn this episode a new one today. But the girl pretty much afterwards calls him out on it and says, this escape was way too easy. No one does question him about the whole spaceport thing. When he says, I can't find a spaceship, no one says, we're in a spaceport, dude. No one says that, but at least they kind of clock onto the fact that something's not quite right with him pretty early on from the get-go. But
I like how I like how he can like sense living beings are coming from one direction, and then the cyborg girl is like, there's a droid coming from that direction.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I like that Jude Law has multiple aliases this episode. Jumping ahead a little bit, but he gets called Captain Silver, and I messaged you and I thought, is his real name going to be... Well, I know it's not his real name because he's credited as, oh god, it's a really Star Warsy name, isn't it? It's like, what is it? Jodnan Narwood. I'm going to call him Jod. Jude Law's character.
The subtitles call him.
Yeah, so they call him... That's it. They call him Captain Silver. I thought, could you be more overt than that? And then later on, he gets called Crimson Jack. And I expect that if they run into a few other people from his past, he'll probably get a few more aliases throughout. But I quite like that. I like that he's got a bit of notoriety from the galaxy. He's probably lied about his identity with certain factions and whatnot, curried favor with them. So it's a pretty good bit of world building, I guess, for his character. I really like Jude Law. I always have. I think he's a really good actor. I think he brings it in every project that he is. And there is still a lot of mystique to the character. There's like a little bit of danger to him, a little bit of unpredictability. Is he going to be sort of the pirate with a heart of gold by the end of this? Is he going to be the Long John Silver character where he's kind of in it for his own ends? He just wants, riches and treasure and whatnot. but he's going to grow attached to the kids. Hopefully, not in that way. And then by the end of it, he's going to be put in a situation where it's either do I go after the treasure or do I save the kids? And he's going to have the heart of gold, like Han Solo, and come in at the last minute and save him. Treasure Island, basically.
Yeah, no, it's basically when you're this type of character, you can range from Han Solo to DJ. And,
yes,
and most people fall somewhere in the Hondo Anaka range.
Clone Wars.
He's
Hondo,
the guy.
Yeah.
Think every old guy from a video game. That's the voice.
Right. Yeah. So the guards on the planet and the spaceport find that Jude Law has escaped, and they sound the alarm. They get to the ship, and he's like, right, let's get out of here. And the kids are like, we ain't leaving until we get our droid back, because the droid's still been apprehended or scrapped for parts or whatnot. So after much protesting, Jude Law goes back to try and retrieve their droid, which I forget the name, SM-33, isn't it? The pirate droid. The droid with the pirate voice, which I still can't get over. I think that's a really, really weird choice. There's a few droids with very wacky voices in this, and we get a few cameos. There's one of the...
If he is a K2 droid, I'm super okay with it, because that means somebody like programmed that took a very there's no horizon droid and made him that hard stuff.
Is there like an accent package or upgrade for your droid? Is there like a talk like a pirate upgrade? It's weird, man. I know it's piratey, and he's got a peg leg, and he's like, yeah, we're going on a voyage, me hearties. And I'm like, why is the droid speaking like this? It's not like it's not like you adopt an accent. Go on, sorry.
Well, I love that they combined the eye patch and the parrot.
Yes, yeah. But it's not like, like your upbringing. You kind of adopt the accent of whoever you're around, or if you spend like a certain amount of time in a country, you adopt parts of the accent. It's not, droids aren't like that. So it's not just like you hang out with pirates for a while. C-3PO will just start talking like a pirate. It doesn't happen.
Oh God, did you ever, speaking of 3PO? Oh.
We will need to hear that pirate impression again. I'm sure I'll do it again. His voice actually reminds... Did you watch the Michael Bay Transformers movies?
The first three.
Okay, in the second one, they go to the plane museum, right? And they meet up with someone called Jetfire, who's like this old curmudgeonly, like hobbling around.
Earth. What a horrible name for a planet. You might as well call it Dirt. Planet Dirt.
His voice reminds me of him.
I remember.
Yes, that's him. That's all I can hear. I could just hear Jetfire every single time. Yeah. Go on, sorry.
No, I have no recollection.
We get a battle droid cameo. So Jude Law goes back to retrieve the droid, and we see a protocol droid, not C-3PO. It's the one with kind of like the bug eyes that we see on the Sandcrawler in A New Hope.
Yes.
And he's got a really weird voice. I'm like, do they all talk like that as well? Droids have weird voices in this show, I've discovered.
We also saw the white one.
Yeah,
the white one with the really like hard, like washy lines.
Yeah, and wasn't the one of the ones that goes like "Echuta"? I'd say, how rude, or from I think there was one of those.
No, because that's just a 3PO droid. Because you get the bug-eyed ones that we see from the back, and then we see the very
human-looking one.
Where do we see it?
It's in the Sandcrawler.
It's familiar.
It's in the.
Is that one in the Sandcrawler?
Yeah. They both are, aren't they? One's kind of like all shiny and chrome, like Mad Max Fury Road.
Yeah.
and then one's just kind of like human-ish. It looks like a skeleton suit almost. With bug eyes, with like googly eyes on it.
Yeah, no, I know what you're talking about. I don't. Are you sure that was in the Sandcrawler? It very well could be.
I think you see what like the wreckage of one like laid in the corner or close in the foreground. I'm pretty sure. Yeah. Or maybe you see one in Jabba's palace where 3PO new acquisitions. Yeah,
It's
maybe.
not the one that's being disintegrated, but I don't remember which one it is.
I'm gonna see if I can find a picture. Yeah, you keep talking. You stall for time. I'm gonna see if I can find it.
Well, the thing about droids is that there are all sorts of protocol droid models that, even though they're the exact same model, they don't get any of the same numerical or letter designation. So I've come to believe that the same company that produced C3PO's parts and TC14's parts, they produce the same droids. However, the voice is what determines the letters, because TC, I'm willing to believe that those are the initials of the person whose voice model that is. And I say that the same thing about C and P.
Mm-hmm.
Like Anthony Daniels in the Star Wars universe, his initials are C and P.
Right, I think I've found it. Here we go. So that one. This is on the Sandcrawler in A New Hope.
Okay, yeah, no, that's the one.
Yeah, you got like the bug-eyed one there, and then I think you have if I back it up a little bit, you have that one, right? I'm pretty sure you
Yes,
have that one
yes,
there
that's
too.
yeah,
Yeah, they're the
yeah.
two.
Those are the two. Those are the two. Although the first one is much better lit and does not look great.
Yes. I have always thought that's a weird looking droid anyway. But then forget those two
That's why
droids.
it's in the shadows. Oh,
We
I
have
remember something.
uh-huh.
Speaking of a B1 cameo, how would you feel about a B1 droid on the Sandcrawler in A New Hope? Like, just like you see it in like the scrap.
Let me remind myself. B1 droid.
That,
Oh,
Roger,
oh,
Roger.
oh. Battle droid. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, would there be a lot left at that point though? I'm surprised
There
there's
were
one.
so many.
I'm surprised there's one here. To be honest, I mean, this is set like what 5 years after Return of the Jedi, give or take.
Yeah, well, so there were a lot of endings to the Clone Wars.
Mm-hmm.
Like, specifically, you get Ahsoka leaving, and then you get season 6. Like, you see, Ahsoka leaves at the end of season 5. Then it comes back for season 6, and then you get in Rebels an episode called "The Last Battle of the Clone Wars," and that was like an unofficial ending to the Clone Wars. And then you got an official ending to the Clone Wars in season 7.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
At the end of the last battle of the Clone Wars, all the remaining battle droids leave the planet and are like, we're just gonna, fight against the Empire on our own and like just kind of carve out our own corner of the galaxy.
Mm-hmm. I mean,
So
it's
that's
not
why.
canon
So
to
there
it's
are
not
battle
canon to
droids
me,
that.
but in Mando season 3, you had that planet that had battle droids that were kind of like a workforce.
Oh, no, listen. You cannot like that episode, but that should totally be canon to you, because that is a great idea to repurpose the battle droids as for like labor droids.
It's a good idea. It was handled fucking shit. That was the one with Lizzo, Jack Black, and Christopher Lloyd, wasn't it?
Christopher Lloyd was, I think, the main issue with specifically the droids things, because he was tied directly to them, and he's like, I was not willing to believe he could hit that button in the amount of time that like anyone could have stopped him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's an old man now.
Like
Christopher Lloyd.
he's like, I'll hit this button, and it's like, no, you won't. I don't think you exert the force
Mm.
needed to press that button.
I
Like
do like when we see battle droid. Like
fall.
I don't want to just say like, oh, it's a cameo for cameo's sake and whatnot. I'm like, oh, okay, we are actually sort of like blending the prequels and the sequel era, not the sequel, sorry, God, the original era a little bit more. That's not me saying that I like the special edition change of a CGI Doug walking through Jabba's palace or "We are free" at the end of the victory celebration. Don't misinterpret what I'm saying, but it can be nice. It's a little bit of world building. I don't mind it. Tobias says, "Evening, gents. Are we talking about Rebels by any chance?" I mean, I'm not, because I haven't seen it. I mean, JX might be talking about
I talked
Rebels.
about one episode where there was a battle droid cameo in this episode, and I was explaining that we know that there is like a semi-large group of battle droids post Clone Wars, like that existed at least 5 years before A New Hope.
I know there's a canon explanation for this, and you probably explained it to me before, but I really hate the nasally, squeaky battle droid voice. I much prefer the voice they had for the battle droids in Phantom Menace, which was very
It's because
robotic.
they're autonomous.
Yeah,
It's because they don't need the command ships.
it felt
That
like Lucas was trying to make them more sort of like kid friendly and wacky, and I don't know how much of that was the influence of Clone Wars. Mind you, Clone Wars didn't come out until well after Revenge of the Sith, and it was in Revenge of the Sith first. Because the first two movies, you have either silent battle droids or you have them like, where are you taking them? And it's very robotic and cool. And you still get like the Roger Roger thing, and it is a little bit, hokey and whatnot, but the voice sounded much cooler. Like, Commander, take them to Camp 4. And then all of a sudden, I remember watching Revenge of the Sith for the first time in the movies and just being really confused. It's like, those are Jedi starfighters, all right. And I'm like, what are we doing? Like, no, this is horrible. And the super battle droids talk as well. No, they were imposing, and like the Terminator in Attack of the Clones. One of my favorite bits in Attack of the Clones is just a throwaway shot when the super battle droids are deployed into the arena, and the B1 droids are firing, and this super battle droid goes like, out of my fucking way, and just like shoulder shoves one of them out of the way and keeps firing. That's fucking badass. I love that. And then you have
yeah,
one
they
yeah.
yeah, that I don't know why they but they can sprint.
Get back to work. That nothing. Oh yeah, Battlefront 2 on the PS2. Hold the left stick to sprint. Yeah, I'm right about that, I think.
It's yeah, no. Well, no. I'm just saying because you said that they couldn't sprint according in season 3 of in the Jack Black episode.
Oh, they do a fucking awful chase scene through the streets, don't they? That's right, they chase one down. It's like iRobot or something. That feels like that would have been a useful power. Just like the Jedi sprinting force ability from Phantom Menace, you feel like that would have been very, very useful. You know, when R2's over there and they're like, hey, you, we're going to walk really slowly over there. It's like, you could just run. Yeah. Dude,
Yeah,
dude ran faster than the bike in Terminator 2. That's amazing.
I here's what I'm gonna say. I see nothing to make me believe that Qui-Gon, Maul, and Obi-Wan are not force sprinting the entire Duel of the Fates.
Do you think?
We're watching it in real time, but they're actually all moving incredibly fast.
Oh, I don't know if I like that. That's hokey. No, I don't think so.
Well, here's the thing. Have you played Jedi Academy?
A long time ago. A very, very long time ago,
If you
yeah.
turn on force speed before you attack a lightsaber user, you'll probably win.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because you just can attack him faster. And the thing is, if they all did that,
I'm just trying to imagine.
Tobias,
Yeah.
he was already sprinting the entire time. The answer is he was.
Why didn't Obi-Wan force sprint to catch up to Qui-Gon? See, I can just imagine now. So
sprinting.
I know Palpatine is force sensitive, but let's say, Chancellor Palpatine, when he's imprisoned and he's on his little throne chair, and he's just watching Anakin, Obi-Wan, and Count Dooku fight in front of him. But it's like he's watching a Benny Hill cartoon, like, and they're all using like force sprint around him. It's just like, what the fuck is happening? It's just a blur of people and lightsabers. Oh god, that's funny. HLB says, I have PTSD when I hear the name Lizzo. Yeah, man, season 3 of Mando just killed that film fucking dead. Mandalorian and Grogu. Like, I have no hype for that at all. Let's get back to the episode then. So, I think this is the part where Jude Law meets that guy sort of around the jails or the droid thing, and he recognizes him and he calls him Captain Silver, doesn't he? So here we already get like some insight that Jude Law's not all he says he is. Anyway, they get back to the ship. They have the droid in tow now. They're all ready to go. They try and blast off, but they are tethered to the fuel line. And he says, hang on, I'm going to try and hit the accelerator and I'm going to try and disconnect from it. And he tries and it doesn't work. And he says, wow, this is a really well-made fuel line. And it just reminded me of the scene from Force Awakens at the beginning where Poe and Finn stow aboard the TIE fighter. Go on.
I wonder if you care that the bit about them on the fuel line is a bit from another Disney Star Wars, or do you only bitch when they call back to older Star Wars?
Well, he's just like, oh, this is a really well-made fuel line. So I'm guessing, okay, so the First Order, in their infinite wisdom and infinite resources of bullshitness, I guess they just cheaped out on the fuel lines. I mean, it snags them for a while, but then it just disconnects quite easily. I'm like, well, why didn't that just happen the first time?
I'm pretty sure they figure out how to like act because they start to catch, and one of them's like, I can fix that. I can fix that. I don't remember which one of them says that, but that leads me to believe they figure out how to properly disconnect the thing.
Right. Okay. But Jude Law concocts this harebrained scheme where he's going to wrap it around like this antenna or like piece of the spaceport, and he's trying to break away from it. And then they say, right, I'm going to punch it. I'm going to hit hyperspace. And she's like, can you go into hyperspace when you're still attached to a fuel line? He's like, I don't ask that question until I've already done it, or whatever the line is. And he does, and the fucking cable detaches, and it whips back into the spaceport, takes some poor fucker out who was just, there for a beer. And I was like, if there was ever one place that would be perfect for a Wilhelm scream, it would be that moment. It whips back and he just goes like, ah. I'm like, no, that's not how you do it. So I need to go into editing. Ah, yes, exactly. Come on. Dude, me and you were in sync with like the idea for placement of Wilhelm screams in the sequel trilogy. Yeah. And Rogue One. There's one perfect moment in Rogue One, and we were like, yeah, second guessing each other with that. I live for that shit. That's fun. The guy flipping over the balcony when Chewie hits the detonator in Force Awakens. You place one there.
Yep. Oh, yeah.
Rogue One, it's the bit where Jyn climbs up onto that slippery, rainy walkway and pulls the guy off the edge. There. Yeah. And you just hear like, ah! As he falls off. Great.
No!
We've got it. Did we ever come up with one for Rise of Skywalker and Last Jedi?
Oh, Rise of Skywalker, I've done a couple. I found the perfect one for Rise of Skywalker because you know that they don't have long moment with Palpatine.
Oh, you don't put one there because it's meant to be like a super serious moment, isn't it?
Well, here's the thing. I don't have Palpatine talking because I don't have Palpatine at all. Yeah. So I just had this whole video section that I needed to recreate the audio for.
Mm-hmm.
And then I have one of the clones because I made all the red stormtroopers Jango Fett clones land and be like enemy in range and then shoot. And then it cuts to a wide shot and you see somebody on a horse get shot.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like,
Wilhelm.
Oh, I know what to put there.
I know where I'd put it actually, Rise of Skywalker. The bit where they're being chased by the speeders with treads and he like slingshots him into the canyon, so you put it there. And I guess Last Jedi you do one in the Battle of Crate at the very end when one of the ships gets blown up, maybe. Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah, when one of the skid speeders blows up, yeah.
Mm-hmm. HLB says, I hate the whole concept of a Baby Yoda. It's so cheap, lazy, and unoriginal. They were just trying to get that merch, and you know what? They fucking got it. They fucking got that merch. Disney, are you happy? I dropped 60 quid on your fucking product.
Hang on, you say they were just trying to get that merch. They didn't get any merch for season 1.
Did they? I think they did. They really had to like Funkos. They had some stuff. I'm pretty sure.
They really had to like rush them out because wasn't because Baby Yoda was basically the best kept secret before Luke at the end of season 2.
But they clearly were
And
going after
because of
like
that,
the
they couldn't do
Gizmo.
any merch thing. And I would say, I think Baby Yoda is a really interesting idea to take, because if there's one word to describe Yoda, it's old. So let's get one that's literally the opposite of that.
It's literally just another cash grab from something of the likes of Gizmo. It basically is Gizmo. You know, it's people go, oh, you know, the
I don't
women
know if
watching it.
Gizmo is.
What are you? No, no, no. What? Gremlins?
Oh, okay.
You on culture? Right, get off this stream. Go and watch Gremlins right now. It's a Christmas movie, okay? So 'tis the season to watch Gremlins. How do you not know, dude? We're doing a movie
I
night of
don't know.
Gremlins. I watched it like 2 weeks ago. I
Okay.
don't care. We're watching that shit again, and then we're watching Gremlins 2 because Christopher Lee's in it, and it's fucking great. Anyway, sorry, but it
Here's the
strikes me that
thing.
the whole Baby Yoda thing was a carryover because the whole Mandalorian concept was a carryover from the Boba Fett thing. Like it was going to be like a Boba Fett film and then a Boba Fett series, and then that found its way into Mandalorian. They were also working on like a Yoda like origin story or like a Yoda movie as well. And I'm guessing the ideas of both of those just kind of trickle down into what we got as the Mandalorian. So
I
yeah,
mean,
and
I don't know. Was the thing is, the Mandalorian might have just been the love child of Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni, and might have had little to do with Boba Fett, because we got Book of Boba Fett. It
and
wasn't good, but we got it.
and
And the
Ahsoka
thing
was in
is,
the corner watching,
yes,
and Filoni was
uh,
still
but
wearing his
the thing,
cowboy hat.
but remember, Favreau was back in the Clone Wars when they started exploring the Mandalorians.
Hmm.
Favreau was in it. He voices Pre Vizsla.
Yeah, yeah, that's right. Tobias says the idea that Yoda and Yaddle had a secret child is actually kind of interesting, but they never made that connection to Grongu. Grongu, I love it. Let's call him Grongu. Um, that I mean, if that was the case, which I hope it isn't, that adds a whole new dynamic to the whole Anakin Padme thing, doesn't it? Like attachment and whatnot, like when he sits down with Yoda.
You, I mean, but like,
On the pill, she said she was. Oh, Yoda. Use it, or just shot those Metachlorians across the galaxy, didn't he? Baby Yoda needed to grow
the
up
thing
fast.
is,
Yeah, he really
Baby Yoda
does.
isn't creatively bankrupt. Master Vandar is creatively bankrupt. And basically, every time Legends did a different Yoda species Jedi, that was creatively bankrupt because they just wanted Yoda in the Old Republic.
And it's like you make a baby version of
Grogu.
anything. We did see like a whole wave of it around this, but so there was baby Groot in
Did,
Guardians of the Galaxy 2. There was
there was
baby
Baby Groot.
Yoda, and then in the first, I know this isn't Disney, but in the first Ghostbusters, no, sorry, in the first Ghostbusters movie, Afterlife, like the new revitalization, you had like baby Stay Puft Marshmallow Men in there. It seemed like
Oh
just
my
take
god.
a character, take like a
Isn't he
thing, and just
already?
make. Huh?
I'll be
Oh,
honest. Okay,
he's
so
technically birthed,
so
isn't
the
he?
Baby Groot thing just felt like a way to bring Groot back,
Yeah.
and keep Vin Diesel employed.
Mm.
I wouldn't really connect the other. Maybe the Stay Puft thing, just because.
Oh, we're losing him. We're losing him. JX, move your router a little bit to the left. It seems to work. Okay, I think he's back.
But yeah, no. If you want to make merch, totally make something a baby.
Well, yeah, it is like exactly that's what they did, and HLB says it was a cold cash grab decision. I agree. They are not
But if
interested in
it
telling
were, then
stories. They just want to sell you.
they would have cashed in on it earlier.
It's like there
It
was
took
a
them a year. It took them a considerable amount of time, not a whole year. I misspoke, but to actually start cashing in on the image of Grogu.
we're still doing it though, like with the perfect play. Like story was told. Grogu was picked up by Luke Skywalker, and he was going to be trained. And like,
Oh yeah,
hell, you could even still have Grogu in the series. You could keep cutting back to Luke and showing his training, or you just take him out of the story completely, and that's how you write him out. And now we can focus on Mando. And what does he do after that? Now he's basically fulfilled his mission. And it right from the bat, we just reset the equilibrium and we're back to square one. And here we are with Mando and Grogu. And Grogu's going to be cutesy, he's going to be a baby, and dude's 55 years old. He's going to have a hell of a growth spurt at some point. But as soon as you make him start talking, you're just going to lose the appeal. As soon as you have him age up, it's going to lose the appeal. And that's what Disney are like clinging on to. It's like, we've got to keep him forever a baby. We can't do anything with this.
also, it is interesting that I don't love that they just took him away and had him immediately reject being a Jedi. I would have liked him to do that more, but I'm okay with what they've done since.
What? Put him in a robot and just went, yes, yes, no.
Oh
no,
I mean
that's all they
specifically
did.
the whole Clan of Two thing. I'm like you're not going to be a Jedi. You're going to be a Mandalorian then. And I was like, what happens when you make Baby Yoda a Mandalorian?
And they baptize him in the sacred waters of Mandalore. It's like a fucking sewer pipe or something. It's like just decrepit water. Like, what do you call it? Where it's like a swamp water that's just been left to hang for like years with gross shit in it. Oh, there's apparently what's it called? A mosasaur. What are those things called? The giant Mandalorian monster things? Mesosaur, that's the one. What's mosasaur? That's Mythosaur. There we go. I'm glad that Mythosaur had so much
I love
to do.
the sound effect of Neil snoring.
Tobias says, however, they had potential to do something interesting, and they had taken the character to the next evolution, had him spend a lot of time with Luke, grown wise, become a unique. Oh, like time travel shit. Maybe he's actually Yoda the whole time. It's like a self-fulfilling prophecy. Let's see. Yeah, creatively bankrupt. Dude's stream quality is set to VHS. Well, this is a retro series, isn't it?
You should see outside. It is hectic out there. As somebody who drives for a living, it was not safe today.
Well, dude, you drove over a mountain. You literally almost drove off a mountain at one point, so you're fine.
That sucked.
Yeah.
Thank you for reminding me of that.
I almost got to the point where I'd never be able to talk to you ever again. You fucking drove your car off like a... Yeah. Tobias says, if they try to do Baby Biggs or Young Max Repo in Andor Season 2, I'm going to start swinging. Well, the blue elephant in this is kind of a little bit of a... It's a little bit. It's not the same species, but he is a blue elephant of some kind, so... You watch, he's going to be like, just like a fucking prodigy on the keyboards. And it's like, oh no. HLB says, let's hope this does not start a new trend and we get Baby Batman or Baby Fast and Furious. Baby Fast and Furious is going to happen. Once we get that final one, it's going to be...
Batman.
Yeah, that's true. Like Damian Wayne, I guess. Like, or have they actually done a Baby Batman? Like Babality from Mortal Kombat.
That happened in Justice League. They became young. It happens. That's like a comic trend.
Yeah. Right. So moving on, they punch it into hyperspace and they get away. I think around about this point, Jude Law confronts SM-33 and he says, "Are they actually from At-Atin?" And at first the droid's kind of cagey and doesn't answer his question, and then he kind of walks off a bit and then just goes like, "I," and then goes back to his business. The girl is constantly distrustful. I actually really like this. I like that she's questioning it, and there's like there's the distrust there between the crew and him, but they're kind of thrown into this situation now where they're going to have to put up with each other. And by the end of the episode, they form an unlikely alliance, an unlikely partnership. He decides to go to a moon because I think he tries to decipher the map, doesn't he? He says, like, I know a map expert and we're going to go there and she's going to be able to decode this map and tell us where At-Atin is.
Well, they don't
She's
have a
gonna...
map. They
Well, yeah, someone
need
who's
a
wise and knowledgeable. Yeah, like a scholar in mapology. That's going to be a name. Hang on, someone who is skilled in maps.
well,
Name.
a cartographer makes maps, but I wouldn't.
Yeah, as a person who creates maps. Whether, yeah. What do you call someone who is good with maps?
A navigator.
I guess so. Yeah. No, maybe it was that
And
cartographer
a
thing that I
spice
was
freighter.
thinking of. So they go there, and it's actually a really nice shot. I used it for the thumbnail of this. There's some really nice cinematography in this bit. It's like the ET shot, like walking past the moon, but I really did like the almost like the watercolor effect of the moon in the background in this shot. It was quite nice. I like some of the shots in this episode. So it's like this kind of moon planet. It's almost like Polis Massa kind of thing, I suppose. And then they meet Archimedes from Sword in the Stone. This owl, this wise old owl motherfucker, like flows out. I actually really like this character.
R/superb owl.
It's an owl.
Yeah, no,
yeah. It's an owl.
I love this. I love this.
Yeah. And it's we kind of already alluded to this at this point, but Kh'ymm, spelt with the KHYMM, says that At-Atin is this one of a series of legendary planets that has been protected by a barrier. And I think they allude to I don't know if they allude to like the war, like the Galactic War or the Empire or something. They allude to something that is pretty common knowledge at this point, or at least should be across the galaxy by the end of Return of the Jedi. And the kids are completely clueless. They have never heard of the Empire, X-Wings, the Rebel Alliance, anything like that, because
they
have
ask
been
about Alderaan.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, they do. We're like, right, you might want to take a seat for this. So right then I was like, well, JX, you kind of can, you alluded to that last week. You thought that they'd have, when they're looking at books of Jedis and, in reverence and stuff, I was thinking, well, Jedis shouldn't really be around at this point. They shouldn't really know much about them, but it's all old stuff. I guess it's sort of like pre-Phantom Menace era, possibly Old Republic stuff that they're still hanging on to, I would imagine. Actually, yeah, probably. Yeah, maybe. We got Brinsley. Says, sup, guys? How you doing, man? Hope you're doing
Brinsley.
good. So I actually think that's a really cool concept. I don't know how they're going to say, oh, there's just a magical barrier that's emitted by the planet itself, or how do these barriers happen?
It's a nebula.
If people know about these planets, though, and have written them down, or at least drew illustrations of them, how are they a secret in the first place? I'm confused.
Those aren't coordinates.
But then, it's like, what happened to this missing planet? Because someone erased it from the archive memory.
What they describe as the barrier, allegedly, I thought it was a shield, but I guess that's because they call it the barrier.
Well, no, but the Owl Lady prints the coordinates to At-Atin, right? She does have coordinates for it.
They scan the badge on the back of
that's right. It's like the backpack, isn't it?
Valedictorians.
It's like a jacket or a backpack or something. She's got like a sigil.
It's like a badge.
A badge. Yeah.
Yeah.
And she prints the coordinates from it. So I'm like, oh, okay. Secret mystical legendary planet just suddenly became much less legendary, and they have a heading, I guess.
They were, with the nebula thing, they were able to narrow it down to like 10,000 systems, and then I guess the symbol was the rest of what they needed. We'll see how effective that was, though, because next week they're gonna follow those coordinates, and maybe they're not gonna take them where they are.
They just get to At-Atin in the next episode credits. Like, we just skip like the next 4 episodes of the series. But Owl Lady, who refers to Jude Law's character this time as Crimson Jack, so another alias for his character, she's stalling for time because she calls in the A-Team, basically. She calls in the New Republic, X-Wing fighters on the way to come and apprehend him because she senses that the kid... Does she sense, or do they kind of let her know that they're in danger, the kids?
As soon as she sees him approaching with children, she calls the New Republic.
Oh no.
Also, were you aware that you needed to see Jude Law fight an alien owl?
Yeah,
I
yeah.
was not, but I did. I
I-
needed
I'm,
this in my life.
I'm, I'm glad we got it. I'm glad we got it.
Yeah.
So the X-wings are on the way, um, and they make a run for it. Basically, I think it's right around this point. They say, "Look, we're not leaving until you tell us, are you a Jedi or are you not?" And he says that he lied about being a Jedi. I don't know how they did the
He never
whole
said
key.
he was a Jedi, as how he puts it.
Yeah. I don't know how they're going to square the whole key floating thing. I doubt there was someone in a neighboring cell that
Well,
was
he can
kind of.
still use the Force, allegedly,
Well, he's
because
force
we see him
sensitive
do
then.
other things. Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, okay. Here's the thing. Now, there's now we there's a difference between the Jedi and Jedi, because Jedi are a lot like band-aids. Like, the layman will just call anyone who can use the Force a Jedi. Well,
Oh, I
yes,
felt
you, but I'm in the actual
that.
Star Wars galaxy. Like, they'll just call anyone, like, that's why you get terms like Dark Jedi and in
I hate
the
that.
fandom Gray Jedi.
I hate that shit. I hate the whole Grey Jedi thing. I really do. Because it's the
I-
Incredibles thing. It's like when everyone's super, no one will be. It was just like this was just reserved for Jedi and then essentially Sith, fallen Jedi, completely to the dark side. And I like that, and that's cool.
except
But
except
yeah.
the Sith were like their own species, and the first Dark Jedi ended up like ruling over them and becoming the literal lords of the Sith,
But then when you
and
can
then
just
they
have a
struck back
dude
against.
who is just like a normal dude, but then he can use the force. I'm like, that takes years of commitment and training. So that's where I think I draw the line that there is Jedi and there are Sith. And then I find it weird how you can have like an average Joe, like Broom Kid, they can just levitate a fucking broom to his hand. I'm like, this takes training to do this kind of thing. You know,
It's a
I get that
pretty
people more.
minimal thing. I feel like that's like something you could figure out with practice. Like, you figure out, oh, I can kind of move things when you're a kid, and then you just kind of like focus on that for a bit, and by the time you're 20, while a Jedi could do the like force push and speed and jump and shit, you can move a key,
So what we're
hit a
saying
light
is
switch.
that Matilda was a Jedi, or at least force sensitive.
Yes. Uh, well, I mean, we agree Mary Poppins is from the wizarding world of Harry Potter, right?
Right.
Like, she's got one of those bags that Hermione's got. She
But
can
it
just make things come to life,
I
which
think
has
why I'm still
terrifying
think
implications.
I think why I still think that he's a Jedi is because I think I read it out last week. I remember reading, I don't know if it was a leak about his character or some info that mentions he's a survivor of Order 66, and I'm trying to square the ages at this point. I'm thinking, well, it would be 20 no 20 25 30 years at this point
Be
since Order
about 30
66.
years at this point.
I think Jude Law's well, he's probably getting on a little bit now, isn't he? I mean, it looks good for his age.
I'd say the
How old
character's
is Jude Law now?
probably in his 40s or
He's 50.
50s.
Yeah, he's 51. So yeah, it'd be like in his early 20s, late teens or something like that, maybe by the time of
Yeah,
Order 66.
pretty consistently, if you survived Order 66, it's because you were an apprentice and your master died to save you.
Yeah. So I think maybe he is a Jedi and he's had to drop that name and he's had to lay low and he's just kind of found himself trying to find a place in the galaxy and he's become a pirate maybe. If he is a
If he
survivor of
was
Order
a Jedi,
66.
that thing he said about Jedi not leaving someone behind is not actually a thing,
Mm,
is that has some implications.
yeah. Yeah. That's if
Oh,
I don't know if it was leaks or some like merch that got leaked and it was kind of like a blurb about his character on the back. I'm not sure, but um, Brinsley says playing Marvel Rivals while listening to you both. Well, hopefully we're entertaining enough. You know, thank you for tuning in and listening to us ramble on about Skeleton Crew. Appreciate it. And yeah, he just says that I lied about being a Jedi. They strike an unlikely partnership. They're going to be working together as a team for their own ends, and they escape the X-wings. And the X-wing pilot says like he couldn't engage because he thought he'd harm the kids on board.
Speaking of the X-Wings, I'm glad that the pilots, or at least the one pilot we saw, wasn't one of the three pilots
I
from
was thinking that.
from Mandalorian that
I
just
thought it was
keeps
going to be
popping up.
the bearded like Chinese guy or whatever. I thought it was going to be him again.
The
Oh,
Asian
sorry.
guy.
You're back. Yeah. I thought it was going to be him. Well, we've made a habit of that for like 3 seasons of Mando and Ahsoka, wasn't it? And was he in something else as well? Or was that it? He's been in like 4 series, I think. That
He's
guy.
in yeah, no, he's in 2 seasons of Mandalorian and Ahsoka.
Yeah, which was that was Ahsoka. No, Mando was where he spoke to that character from Rebels, who for some reason wasn't in Ahsoka, and I thought he was.
I assume the movie, maybe? I don't know.
Yeah. And that's the end of the episode. One thing that does concern me though about the oh god, what's it called? The Onyx something, was it? The Onyx Cinder. Every time they punch into hyperspace and it hangs on like the shot of space afterwards, there's fragments of metal floating around from where the ship used to be. So I think parts of the ship are like fucking tearing
It's
off every
falling
time they
apart.
go to hyperspace. No, I know, and it's cool because it's like
I
this
hope
old
that
ship.
comes back.
But
That might actually be like a problem for them later. I'm okay if it's not, but I think it would be really cool if if you're paying attention, you see, oh my, and like you can't watch it again the same way without being like, that's killing them.
it's like the ass just falls out of the engine or something, or like one of the hyperdrives. I'm like, oh no.
Also, so at the end, the kids hop on the guns and start shooting at the X-Wings.
Next week, yeah,
So
yeah.
these kids are just like cool with shooting at cops.
And
I'm
it's
starting to
like,
warm up to this show.
I got one. Great shot,
Yeah,
kid. Don't get
you know,
cocky.
maybe next week they can like start shooting at like intergalactic insurance reps, but one thing at a time.
I know what's going to happen. I'm going to get really, really attached to the Onyx Cinder because it's a really cool looking ship. And then it's just going to get fucking exploded in the next series. And they're going to get a vastly
Maybe.
inferior ship that's really impractical for their day job.
You better not be talking about the new N1 fighter.
How does that help a bounty hunter?
Yeah, no, I like how he had a place for like an improvised uh what's it called, carbon freezing chamber, where it's
Yeah.
just like I remember at first you were like, oh, why, that's dumb, why would he do that? It's like, no, because after Han Solo was brought to Jabba the Hutt alive in carbon freeze, all these other bounty hunters were just like, that's a really fucking good idea.
But it's just like his old ship had a toilet, it had a changing room, it had a place to store bounties. Where's he take a
Yeah,
shit in that N1 starfighter?
but hear me out, wizard.
Hey, they did wizard in this series, and it was the best part of the series so far.
It
So
was
that's kind
totally
of
wizard.
that's kind of episode 3. I think the pacing. This episode does move at a pretty good pace. You know that they're getting out of the jail cell. They're answering things that
Did not
were
feel like 40
questions I
minutes.
wanted answered. No, it's like it moves pretty fast. But I think if you look at these 3 episodes together, the pacing is a little bit dragging in places. I'm thinking that I want to see what this is all like when all's said and done after 8 episodes are out, because I think you could probably neatly edit this into like a 2-hour movie, something like. How long is Goonies? Let me have a look. How long is this movie? 110 minutes, just shy of that. That's going to be my goal. When 8 episodes are out of this, and if I can be bothered and I have the enthusiasm and I have the time, I'm going to see if I can edit all these down into a neat 110 minutes. You take the Shears to the first episode. The first episode, you just get them to that spaceship in like the first 15 minutes of the movie. Bit of setup time with the characters is fine. You get them to the ship and you get them on their adventure. Probably cut a lot out of the whole like bar and pub thing, but you need to get them to the brig. But you can do that pretty effectively, I think. Get them there, and then we move on. Anyway, that's another edit that will probably never get made, but it's an idea of an edit anyway. Yeah, so that will do it.
That's definitely a you edit.
Yes, yeah. It is. I'll consider it. Maybe it depends how I feel about this.
Not for me.
if I'm filled with just a sense of complete apathy, and I still am a little bit with this show. Like, this isn't the greatest fucking return to form, tour de force, the thing that we've wanted to see for Star Wars for ages. I am just kind of showing up and watching this each
I
week,
think
but it's
form
not.
is.
But it's not horrible. It's not horrible so far. That's how fucking low the bar is set at the moment for me with Star Wars, and just this complete sense of apathy. I'm hoping it has a vision, like what's his name, John Watts. Usually, I'm not a huge fan of those Spider-Man films, but they're better in terms of like some of the other Marvel films in the repertoire. Definitely, he can do some stuff with characters at least. So yeah, we'll see where it goes. We really will. So yeah, next week I completely fucked up the days this week. I do apologize. Last week it was released on the Tuesday, and I just fully expected they were going to release every Tuesday. They just released those 2 episodes a day early, so yeah, it's going to be every Wednesday night from here on in. I'm pretty sure. We can double check it. So the next one is the 17th of December, which is going to be. It's like a Tuesday night, isn't it, or something? It's an early AM Wednesday for me, I think. 17th, yeah,
Exactly.
Tuesday into Wednesday, yeah. So yeah, every Wednesday night we'll be back talking more Skeleton Crew. But yeah, all good. So I just want to say a big thank you to everyone who
Wait.
tuned in. Oh,
Hang on.
go
Are
on.
we streaming on Christmas?
It's Christmas Eve. Oh shit, that is a good point.
Christmas is a Wednesday.
I saw it was on Christmas. Yeah, okay. We will adjust. We can either do that Boxing Day or we can do that on the 27th.
I can make it work if you can.
I
It's
can
not
make
like
it
I'm
work.
going to have work.
I can make it work if you want. If you want to watch and talk about Skeleton Crew on Christmas Day,
It's
I'm
not
fine
like
with
I
that.
didn't see every single new when I specifically saw 1 to 9 and Rogue One on Christmas Day.
Oh right, okay, yeah, we'll keep the Star Wars tradition going then. Maybe we could do a holiday special in 5K on YouTube watch along if you wanted to. That's a potential for Christmas Day. If you... I think
I
I'd
might
rather
have
watch.
already had to watch it by then.
Oh, okay. To be honest, I'd rather watch Skeleton Crew out of the two, maybe. But I know
We
there's a new.
celebrate a day
I
of
I don't
peace.
mind that song. That's my hot take that I'm going to throw in right here at the end of the stream. I don't mind that song. It starts okay, but then it feels like the Star Wars theme's really agonizingly having to try and catch up with her lyrics, and it just gets to a point where it doesn't fit. I'm like, why are we trying? Tobias says you watched all 9 in a day. You are a bold one.
Over the course of like on Christmas days, like that, like watch Star Wars on Christmas. That's what we were doing because Star Wars was coming out near Christmas, and so we prepped.
No, Tobias, surely you mean you watched all 6 in one day? Yeah? All 6. Not all 9. No more,
I
no less.
referenced 10 movies.
Yeah, you did. You said Rogue One, yeah.
Yeah, because that also came out in December.
So
Not
Solo,
Solo though,
no,
because of
Solo was
fucking
May, wasn't
Endgame
it?
or
Yeah.
Aftermath. Not Aftermath. Infinity War.
Mm-hmm. What was I going to say? So I think on Christmas Day there's a new Wallace and Gromit called
Oh my
something
god, there is a new Wallace and Gromit.
Yeah, the penguin, not the penguin, not Colin Farrell, not Feathers
Raw.
McGraw. Feathers McGraw, that's it, from Wrong Trousers, which was my favorite Wallace and Gromit out of all of them. He's coming back. Somehow Feathers McGraw returned. He's back. So I might review
I mean,
that
he
on
returned
Christmas.
in Project Zoo. So
Yes, he did. He did. So I wonder if that's going to
did
be
you ever
canon.
finish that?
No, I
Probably not.
didn't.
Me
So
neither.
I'm gonna be reviewing that on Christmas Day. I don't know what the time for that's going to be at the moment, but I could probably cram Skeleton Crew in there as well, maybe in between
Mhm.
like mouthfuls of turkey and potatoes and gravy and pigs in blanket
I
and
know.
deliciousness. um,
Speaking of potatoes,
gravy.
you still haven't watched Dungeons and Dragons: Honor Among Thieves,
You
and
know what?
that reference would make sense if you watched the movie.
I have a lot of things that I intend to do this December, and I'm probably not going to do any of them. What do I need to do this December? I need to start work on the Hobbit edit 3.0. I need to actually take some time to video game because I can't remember the last time I played one, mostly due to my account getting hacked, probably. So I need to do some gaming. I need to catch up with a shit ton of movies that I've missed this year, included but not limited to Dungeons and Dragons,
Who hacked
Deadpool
your
3.
account?
I know. I wonder who did. Who would do the darndest thing like that? I need to watch Deadpool 3. I need to watch Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes.
It would be crazy. It would be crazy if one of us said that George Aldrich from Cinema Savvy hacked
No, no,
your
no, no.
PlayStation account.
We
No,
don't
no, no.
know.
It
We
would be
can't.
crazy if someone said that in the hypothetical scenario that somebody said George Aldrich hacked your account from PlayStation.
Yeah, I know. Darth Stank
Amazing. That would be crazy.
Inspired. Yeah, D&D was also. This is what I heard. The trailers looked terrible, but reviews were really, really good. Now, I've never played D&D all that much.
Great.
I'm aware of some like light rules to it, but I'm hoping that won't put me off from liking the movie. Oh, hot take. Deadpool and
liked it.
Wolverine, not so much. Don't watch. It's bad.
You know how? Did you see the oh god, what's her name? Celine Dion. Did you see the Celine Dion preview thing for Deadpool 2?
Yeah, Ashes or something it was called, wasn't it? That was a really good song.
Yeah, it was a really good song, and there's a like a preview, not a preview, like a promotion for Deadpool 2, where she's recording it, and he's like, okay, you're taking it to like an 11. This is Deadpool 2. This is not Titanic. You need to take it to like a
Yes. Yeah.
5.5. And it's just like, this voice does not go to 5.5. This voice goes to 11. It's like, I should have got in sync.
Yeah, yeah. And he does, doesn't he? In Deadpool 3, I think. So I need to watch that. I need to watch Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. There's a whole bunch of stuff actually. I think Nosferatu comes out on Christmas Day. Maybe not for us in the UK, but the new Robert Eggers movie, which I'm really looking forward to. I need to watch his previous film, The Northman. So I've got a lot of stuff to do, and also I need to practice and like actually see family and talk to friends and talk to people, which will be nice during this break. So I intend to try and do all of those things, or at least attempt to start some of those. Anyway, we'll round off tonight. I just want to say a big thank you to everyone who's tuned in, commented along. This is great. Seeing the old motley crew of people in again. It's great to hear from you all. And yeah, what's coming up on the channel? So I'll be going live again with... No, I won't be going live. I will be doing a pre-recorded review with Everything in Middle-earth again, surrounded by the whole news that came out about Rings of Power Season 3, that they've got a Season 3. It's pretty much confirmed. We're going to be talking about that. And then this weekend, on either Saturday or Sunday, I will be going live with Everything in Middle-earth, and we'll be talking about War of the Rohirrim. And is it any good, or is it not good? And do I need to do an edit of that as well at some point? So, yeah. I really hope I can get the popcorn bucket for that, actually. Have you seen it?
I have not.
Do you have like any AMC theaters near your neck of the woods?
Yeah.
I'm gonna see if I can find. I'll send you the picture afterwards. It's a Warhammer, with like the full-on handle and the popcorn bucket at the end of the Warhammer. It's amazing. And I think the drinks cup, I think they're doing like a few different variations, but there is one that's like a tankard, which I thought was really cool.
So they're giving Helm Hammerhand a real hammer.
Yes.
That's what they did in Shadow of War.
Well, in Two Towers as well, when they get to Helm's Deep and you see the statue, there is a Warhammer in his hand. But also, there's a reference. They released an 8.5-minute clip. I mean, that ain't a clip. That's like a whole segment of the fucking movie. But they allude to the fact that it's right when he goes like berserker mode and he like wanders into the wilderness and starts killing Dunlendings with his bare hands, and they say he's out there somewhere now, a wraith. And I thought, I see what you did there. He's one of 9.
Are they gonna tie? I didn't think they would, but if they did,
If
power
that's
to
if
them.
that's
Honestly,
just a reference, then I'm okay. I don't like that in the game. I really don't. I know we've had that discussion before. I don't like that Helm Hammerhand is one of the 9 ring wraiths. But if it's a reference and nothing more to those games that someone might have played, fair enough.
fair enough. I can respect that. I can totally see that being the only the only reference to that. But I could also see this being like, no, 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 those happened because these are the continuity of the movie, and
Yeah.
those games are in the movie continuity, not the book continuity.
It's just like when you throw that word around in the world of Tolkien, like a wraith, it's very much tied to ring wraith almost immediately. So I don't know. Maybe it's a coincidence. Maybe Philippa Boyens or whoever wrote the script for this shit had never played the games, and it's entirely possible. But I thought, maybe it could be a reference. Who knows? Tobias says, hopefully after 5 seasons of Rings of Power, we might have enough material to put together an hour's worth of movie. I think an hour's worth is going to be very generous, to be honest, my dude. Maybe by season 4, they will have figured out how the plot, what the plot of this story is. I'm not holding my breath, but what does make me hold my breath back is knowing how old I will be after 5 seasons of Rings of Power comes out. It's not like they're filming this every year. You know, most TV shows get their next seasons out the following year. We have a 2-year wait between seasons. We've got 3 seasons left to go. Start counting. I'm going to be a very old man still on YouTube bitching about the Rings of Power. That's fucking depressing. But I love doing it, so I don't care. For as long as they still make that shit, I will be, my watch begins, and I will continue to talk about it. Right, we'll round off there. So yeah, big thank you to everyone. Thank you to yourself for jumping on with me tonight, JX. Always appreciate it. Always good to talk Star Wars with you or argue with Star Wars. But we didn't do any arguing this week. Actually, we were very cordial this week. I like that. It's nice.
I said some things that you disagree with, but I was just like, this is just a thing about the universe, and I was just like, look, this is what the layman calls a Jedi. That's not really what the Jedi are, and it's definitely not what Yoda was referring to when he says, "The last of the Jedi will you be?"
Yeah,
Like he was
well,
clearly
not
talking about
anymore.
the Order.
Debatable when that film came out, but there were no spiky things in this episode, so 0 stars on this episode, right? There were no badass spiky things.
Where are the spiky things? The hook in the ship and
Anyway, let us know your thoughts on Skeleton Crew. Are you watching this show? Are you completely apathetic and past Star Wars at this point? You're not even tuning into it, maybe, but you still hear us talk about a show that you haven't watched. I'm sure some people are. Please do let us know. Please consider subscribing to the channel for more movie reviews, discussions, and live streams. I will be live streaming a lot more, especially in the lead up to War of the Rohirrim. And then me and Everything Middle-earth also have some plans for this December because it's the 10th anniversary of Battle of the Five Armies, which makes me feel very old because that still feels like an incredibly new film. 10 years old. Wow. So I don't know if we're going to do some kind of like watch along for that or if we're just going to do a review 10 years later thing, but we will have a video on that. JX, before we round off, let people know where they can find you, what you've got coming up. What are you working on?
You can find me on youtube.com/JXEditor.
Fuck. Shit. Ow. Almost. We'll get there.
I'm a fan editor. I make edits of mostly Star Wars content. I am currently working on a Clone Wars movie using various episodes of the show, and ironically, none of the movie to make an interquel between Star Wars episodes 2 and 3.
Yeah. And I look forward to seeing it. I'll be watching that next week, giving you my honest opinions, but what I've seen is very, very good. I'm liking it. So, yeah, thank you for jumping on tonight, everyone. We'll be back next week, same bat time, same bat channel, on a Wednesday, not a Tuesday, a Wednesday. We'll catch you guys then. Take care, everyone.
Bye.